Hey guys, in last episode of Mighty Kafka, we have seen how it simplifies the microservice pattern by reducing complex data pipelines. Later, we installed Kafka in our Linux. Today we're gonna look upon its file structure and observe the logs generated. This will help us to do some tweaks with the configuration files. So let's get started. If you remember, we placed our Kafka folder inside our OPT directory. Let me open Kafka folder. This is the home path for Kafka. Here you see multiple subfolders, so let's observe them one by one. The first subfolder is bin. Actually, it contains all the scripts that will help us to start different services that comes with Kafka. If we goes inside it, we see various script file, right, for different OSs. If we want to use it in a Unix-based system like any Linux, Mac, or BSDs, you can use these shell scripts with the extension .sh to start any Kafka service. Or if you are on Windows or any other DOS-based systems, then you can use these batch files, right, with the extension .bat to start Kafka services. Next, we have config folder that contains the properties for different services offered by Kafka, which script files are inside opt bin that we just go through. Here you can see there is one more module named kraft. This will be used to run Kafka without Zookeeper, but currently it is in beta phase. So we will talk about kraft in later videos. Next we have libs. It actually contains the Java runtime libraries. That is a dependency for Kafka. Next we have a license folder that contains various license that is used by Kafka. And at the end we have Kafka site docs, right? So you need to extract it to view the file inside it. So let me extract it. Now you can see that there are various HTML files, and this is basically the documentations. Like in users.html, you can find the various use cases of Kafka. You can use this too for documentation purpose, but I recommend to use the official documentation site for Kafka. Now let us observe the log folder and look into some service properties. And for that, let me open this inside VS Code, okay? We need to start Zookeeper first, and then we can start Kafka broker, because Zookeeper is a dependency and it must be started first, or else we get an error. To start Zookeeper, we need to use the script file from inside the bin folder, that is Zookeeper server start.sh, along with the properties that can be found inside config as zookeeper.properties, right? So we need to use these two files, zookeeper.properties and zookeeper server start.sh to start Zookeeper. So let's start it. Okay, you might be wondering that why I don't include the full path for Zookeeper server start, and that is because I have already added this in my environment variable, the path opt kafka bin. So that is the reason that any file inside that directory, like and any of these files, can be accessed directly via terminal without including the full path. That is the reason why I added this in my environment variable, right? You can check it out like this. See, opt kafka bin is inside my environment variable. Okay, and if you don't add this in your environment variable, you need to specify the full path like this. Okay, you can do it this way, but I recommend you to add this in your environment variable, so it will be sweet and short. Okay, so let's start it. You see that logs are generated here, right? And it contains a file name server.log that basically contains systems log regarding start, stop of a service or about any error that occurred with the services. These two logs are same, like what we got inside the terminal and what we got here. You can see that it start reading from the configuration file opt kafka config zookeeper properties. Why it is reading from that file only? Because we have a specify to read the properties from this file. Okay, so this is reading the configuration from here. Then it set the port address for the client as 2181, and that is because if you open up the properties, let me open it up. See, the client port is set in the properties file as 2181. So that is the reason why client port is set like 2181. Okay, next is try to start Zookeeper. I can see that it is starting the server, and it started it. It also set up the environment variable for Zookeeper, like the OS architecture's name, Java home directory, etc., etc., and also about the memories. Okay, and it store the snapshot of this, like whatever the state of the Zookeeper, like it is manager only, right? So it is trying to write the snapshot of it inside some folders, and that is temp Zookeeper version 2 snapshot.0. Snapshot.0 means that we are currently starting just one instance of the Zookeeper. That is why it is like snapshot.0. And this folder is specified again in the Zookeeper properties. Like see, data directory for Zookeeper is temp Zookeeper. That's why it is storing these files here. And what is this? It is like the directory where the snapshot is being stored. Okay. Let me show you the content of this folder temp Zookeeper, right? Okay, you can see like whatever is written in the log, right, like temp Zookeeper version 2 snapshot 0. We got the same file here, like inside temp Zookeeper we got version 2, and then inside that we got snapshot 0. If we try to read this, this is a binary file and is unreadable, so please don't try to read this. Okay, so this is the location of the snapshot file that Zookeeper will create, right? Once we start our broker and broker will start communicating with the Zookeeper, we get more folders here, right? Okay, as Zookeeper is running, we can start Kafka broker now. Okay, and to start Kafka broker, we need to use the script Kafka server start.sh. Okay, with the properties server.properties, right? Okay, but don't close this Zookeeper service, right? Keep this running inside the background and add a new terminal, and then start a Kafka broker. Because if you close the Zookeeper, then it throw an error. Okay, so let's start Kafka broker. Like this Kafka server start.sh, and then we specify the properties from server.properties, right? But before that, let me clean this up, the log file. Okay. Okay, now Kafka server is started, and you can check logs, like how it is started. See, port is trying to start, and immediately after that, it is trying to connect to Zookeeper on port localhost 2181, and that is the reason why we need to start Zookeeper first, because it is immediately trying to connect to Zookeeper, right? Then it loaded the environment variables like memory details, host name, Java home directory, etc., etc., and then it is waiting for the connection. Okay, and here you can see that connection to the Zookeeper Kafka client is done, right? With the cluster ID this, and then it trying to load all the Kafka config values. This is a long list. Okay. Okay, you can see that it is trying to loading the logs from temp Kafka log, right? And if this folder doesn't exist, it try to automatically create it, right? So let's just open this folder. to see the content inside it. You can see we have something like Kafka logs, right? And here we go. We have multiple folders here. And if we try to read these files, let me read it. See, this file is an empty file, right? Cleaner offset checkpoint. This is an empty file. Then we have offset checkpoint. These both are 0, 0. Then we have meta properties, like it is like meta field of it, like meta field of the Kafka broker, like what is the broker ID, what is the version, what is the cluster ID, and so on. Right? Then we have recovery point offset check. That is still 0, 0. And then we have replication offset checkpoint, right? And that is empty for now. These gets updated when we're trying to start the communication between producer and consumers, right? And this log file is basically for the messages, right, that we stored in our disk, right? Like producer produces messages and consumer consumes it, and those messages are stored in our local disk, and this is the locations where it is stored. Kafka logs. So we have two logs, right? One log is inside the Kafka installation directory, which contains the system's log, like starting of a service or stopping or any error that occurred inside that service. That logs are created inside OPT, Kafka, and inside logs. And again, we have another logs that is for messages, right? When producer produces a message and logs regarding that. That is stored inside temp Kafka logs. If you open up server properties, you can find default Kafka broker as something like broker.id as 0, right? And port as 9092, and log data as temp Kafka logs, right? And one more thing about Zookeeper. Yeah, the Zookeeper instance that we want to connect to, that is localhost 2181. So these all are the properties that can be altered according to our need, but we will cover that in our next episode, as that are out of scope for this episode. Okay. That's it for today's episode. If you have any queries, corrections, or suggestions regarding today's episode, please drop a comment and please do share it with your colleagues. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Till then, take care. Thank you.